There's been a treasure trove of highly classified Pentagon documents that have leaked online in recent weeks. They have provided a rare window into how the United States spies on its allies and its enemies. It has sent shockwaves down the US security establishment, which fears that these revelations could jeopardize sensitive sources as well as compromise some of its most important foreign relationships. Some of these documents, which US officials say are authentic, expose the extent of US eavesdropping on key allies, including South Korea, Israel, and Ukraine. Others reveal the degree to which the US has penetrated the Russian Defense Ministry and the Russian mercenary organization, the Wagner Group. And none of it paints a pretty picture for America. But the most damaging are documents which reveal key weaknesses in Ukrainian defense. And it comes even as Ukrainian forces are gearing up to launch a counteroffensive against Russia. And just as the US and Ukraine were beginning to develop a more mutually trusting relationship. Ukraine has already altered some of its military plans because of this leak. On Crux Decode, what do these intelligence documents show exactly? How much will it damage America's relationship with its long-term friends and partners like Israel and South Korea? And most important question, how may this, if at all, change the course of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war? The Pentagon has put in place an interagency effort to try and assess the impact of this leak. Pentagon Deputy Press Secretary Sabrina Singh issued a statement Sunday in which it says that the Department of Defense continues to review and assess the validity of these photographed documents that are circulating on social media and appear to contain sensitive and highly classified material. An interagency effort has been stood up, focused on assessing the impact that these documents could have on US national security and on our allies and partners, unquote. This leak has also led the Pentagon to take steps to tighten the flow of information and particularly highly sensitive documents. Many of these documents are normally available to hundreds of people across the US government. The Joint Staff, which comprises the Defense Department's most senior uniformed leadership, which also advises the US President, is examining the distribution lists to take a look at who exactly gets these reports. In fact, many of these documents had markings indicating that they had been produced by the Joint Staff's intelligence arm known as J2. The documents appeared online last month on the social media platform Discord, according to the screenshots of these posts. These posts are photographs of crumpled documents that are laid on top of magazines and are surrounded by other random objects like zip bags and glue. It is as if they had been folded up rather hastily and shoved into a pocket before being removed from a secure location. A spokesperson for the company Discord confirmed in a statement that they are cooperating with law enforcement agencies. While spying is an inevitable part of how the US intelligence community collects information globally, diplomats from some of the affected countries who have been allegedly snooped upon have a rather uncharitable view of things. US allies are doing damage assessments right now, scrambling to determine whether any of their own sources or material have been compromised. In fact, one of those diplomats spoke on the condition of anonymity to CNN, saying that we expect the US to share a damage assessment with us in the coming days, but we cannot wait for their assessment because right now we are doing our own. This was an unnamed official from the Alliance of the Five Eyes intelligence sharing arrangement, which the United States has with Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK. One more official from this set of ally countries also talked about the concern around the leaked Ukraine war information, which is basically handicapping Ukraine on the battlefield. He also pointed out it was alarming to see one of the documents from February titled Russia-Ukraine Battle for Donbass likely headed to a stalemate throughout 2023. This document notes the challenges with assessing the endurance of Ukraine's operations. In fact, CNN has reviewed more than 50 of these leaked documents, all of which appear to have been produced between the middle of February and early March. One document, in fact, reveals that the United States has been spying on Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. That is unsurprising. But Ukrainian officials are deeply frustrated about the leak. The US intelligence report also says that Zelensky, back in late February, had suggested striking Russia and Russian locations inside the Rostov Oblast using unmanned aerial vehicles. Ukraine, remember, does not have the long-range weapons that are capable of reaching that far into Rostov. Mikhailo Podolyak, the advisor to the office of the president of Ukraine, has said on his Telegram channel that he believes these documents have been disseminated, which are inauthentic and have nothing to do with Ukraine's real plans. They are based on a large amount of fictitious information disseminated by Russia. Nonetheless, there is another document that describes in great detail a conversation between two senior South Korean officials about concerns that they have over a US request for ammunition to Ukraine. These officials worry that supplying this ammunition to Ukraine would violate South Korea's policy of not supplying lethal aid to countries that are at war. According to the document, one of the officials then suggested a way of getting around that policy without actually changing it by selling the ammunition first to Poland and then eventually to Ukraine. The document has already sparked a huge controversy in Seoul. South Korean officials are telling reporters that they plan to raise this issue with Washington. An intelligence report about Israel, meanwhile, has also sparked outrage in Jerusalem. The report produced by the CIA says that Israel's main intelligence agency, the Mossad, had been encouraging protests against the country's new government under Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu's government has been under siege for the better part of the last 3 months over proposed judicial reforms which have now been put on hold. The Israeli Prime Minister's office responded on Mossad's behalf Sunday, calling the report mendacious and without any foundation whatsoever. Another document reveals what the US thinks about some European countries and their intention to donate fighter jets to Ukraine. For example, the report says that back in February, Bulgaria had expressed a willingness to donate its fleet of MiG-29 jets to Ukraine, calling it a challenge because it would leave Bulgaria without any fighter aircraft to fulfill its air missions until the United States delivers F-16s. This massive leak also reveals the extent of US penetration into Russia's Ministry of Defense and its mercenary organization, the Wagner Group. Much of the information about Russia was gathered via intercepted communications, raising concerns that the Russians might now change their method of communication. Human sources, too, could be at risk. Maps of Russian troop movements and their capabilities are included in these trove of documents, which are sourced in part to human sources, prompting fears among American officials that those assets could now be in danger. The documents also show that the US has been able to intercept Russian targeting plans down to the exact power plants, substations, and rail and road bridges that the Russian forces were planning to attack deep inside Ukraine. The US was also able to intercept the Russian strategy for combating NATO tanks that are due to enter Ukraine starting April. The plan basically called for establishing 3 fire zones based on range, long, medium, and short, with each zone covered by specific weapons. Highlighting US concerns about the Wagner Group, which has thousands of personnel operating in Ukraine, these documents discuss Wagner's renewed recruitment of Russian prisoners and using them to fight in Ukraine. The documents also provide a window into casualty figures on both sides. These are numbers that are notoriously difficult to estimate accurately, and the US so far has not shared any of these numbers publicly. According to one of the documents, Russian forces suffered anywhere between 190,000 and 220,000 casualties as of February this year, and that includes close to 50,000 who were killed in action. Ukraine, meanwhile, had suffered anywhere between 125,000 to 130,000, with close to 20,000 killed in action. When asked about these images circulating on Twitter and Telegram and other social media, the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Friday that we don't have the slightest doubt about direct or indirect involvement of the United States and NATO in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And ultimately, that is the biggest takeaway of these intel documents that have been leaked, that the gloves are off well and truly between Washington and Moscow. This is no longer just a Russia-Ukraine war. This is Russia versus America. The rest of it is just incidental.